we are at the Lutheran building in Chicago.
Some pretty posh digs that the Lutherans have.
Yeah, after our meeting with representatives from the Connectional Table and the Council of Bishops.
And we took that initial video of the empty chairs to show you they were empty during the meeting too. Mm-hmm. Because it turns out that confessing movement, good news movement,
Leading Edge,
and what's the other?
Wesleyan Covenant Network.
They did not show up.
None of them.
None of them. It was just Julie and I from Love Prevails, and 2 representatives from Reconciling Ministries Network, and 2 representatives from MFSA, and then some 2 bishops, and the secretary of the Connectional Table.
Executive Secretary of the Connectional Table, Amy Valdez-Barker.
That was it.
That was it. Just us.
Yeah, so we came in feeling like there'd been a little bit of a bait and switch, because now it was just going to be us talking to friendly folks talking to each other, and it was, we had to do some emotional readjustment, right, because, you know, as gay people, when you come into these meetings, you just you've got your armor on. You're waiting for people to say awful things to you about how you don't belong in the church, and if you're part of the church, they can't be part of the church. So you come to these things, you try to just psych yourself up emotionally to sit in the room with people who hate you, and then we get here and it's none of that, and so we're trying to figure out who and how to be in that moment. I think for me, one of the things that this revealed was our conservative brothers and sisters don't have to be here, because they're not fighting for their very lives in the church, their physical, their spiritual, their emotional lives, the way we are. So we keep having to come to the table, and we keep having to do the dialogue. They don't need to come because all of their policies are in place, and they don't need to be here. I hate war imagery, but for me, what it feels like a lot is they're not very good at hand-to-hand combat. They don't like to be up close and personal, to hear about the stories, and see the tears of the people who they are working so hard to exclude and to diminish. They would rather, engage in drone warfare, where from the safety of their keyboards, they can drop bombs on people 1,000 miles away and never have to see that carnage up close. So when they weren't here today, it was a reminder to me they don't like to be up close to the carnage that they create. We needed a lot of these today. Mm-hmm. There were just a lot of tears around the table and a lot of angst as we tell again and again and again our stories of oppression and exclusion.
Now, ostensibly, the rumor has it that there was another meeting that was already scheduled somewhere in the country that all of these other folks were invited to, and that they all had another commitment previous to this one. But these are all folks who could have easily sent representatives from their fairly large constituencies. So, they didn't come, and that says a lot. And what ended up happening then were the 2 bishops that were here, Bishop Venner and Bishop O, basically asking us once again to basically tell them what we thought they should do.
And how to move forward.
How to develop some kind of process in the next 18 months so that we get to General Conference and don't end up in the same exact place that we always end up, which is unprepared, which is, again, sacrificing the lives of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer people in the moment of General Conference. And so they appeared, at least at first, to be asking us for some kind of magic bullet, as if that were possible. And I think we tried to state as clearly as possible that we know the way forward, right? We are in the middle of the way forward, which is dissenting from the Book of Discipline, being faithful to our ministries locally, and that ultimately all of the language of the Book of Discipline that's against gay people has to be, abolished. And clearly there is not the political will to do so. And that they have to take their own leadership, have the moral courage in order to lead in the ways that they can, and and they don't have it. And not just these two, but I mean, we spoke very clearly to them as leaders of the Council of Bishops and the Connectional Table to say, you know, there's nothing that we can tell you, really. I mean, we try to tell them a lot of things, as we always do. But yeah, we just kind of, just a lot of tears and stories and all of the stuff that we always do, leaving really feeling like there was a sense of naivete, a sense of unwillingness to take any risk. And, you know, we're just exhausted and depressed like we usually are.
We just feel raw and exhausted. And all through the meeting, all I could think of was Audre Lorde and her keen observation, let it always falls onto the backs of the oppressed to educate our oppressors. And that's what happened here today. And as so often happens, we as the oppressed are willing to come to the table and have the conversation for the umpteenth time, and invest our emotional and spiritual and physical lives in this kind of conversation. Our opposition doesn't even have to show up, and I think we've been faithful, and that's all we can do. But this is exhausting, and I know there are people watching this video right now who have been in this battle for years and years and years and years, and what happened here today is as old as dirt. Mm-hmm. Nothing new happened. It's just us trying to educate one by one or two by two folks who have our very lives in their hands and who are not willing to risk on our behalf at all.
Yeah, so I mean, we at Love Prevails, we know that we're going to move forward as we had planned. We don't have any expectations of there being other conversations, though there were conversations about having other conversations. There's talk of more conversations. We made it clear that really, if there are conversations, that it's not acceptable for those conversations to be had without the presence of queer folks at the table, instead of talking about people, talking with people. They continue to create task forces on the Council of Bishops where, you know...
There's no gay people. I mean, there's no gay people. Can you imagine a task force on race where there were no people of color at the table? They keep establishing these task forces with no gay people at the table. It is stunning to me that it feels like it's new information to them, that they should have actually invited us to the damn table.
Yeah. So they thanked us very much for coming.
Yeah.
And it was good to be at the table with other folks who were in the struggle with. And, you know, we just want to encourage people to keep on keeping on. Yeah. I mean, we got to be the people who take risks. Clearly, as always, change never comes from the center. Change never comes from the center.
It certainly isn't going to come from the top.
Right. The center or the top. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. I said in a sermon recently, we need to be supporting trickle up courage and stop waiting for that to come from the top, because all we're getting from the top is trickle down cowardice. So we support all of our folks who love and care for us at Love Prevails and around the country and around the world. And thank you for supporting our work to have trickle up courage.
Love y'all.
Peace out.
Peace.